Oh my gosh, we're live. We are live from my basement. I mean, that's where, isn't that where you are right now? Pretty much where I am at all times. Let's make sure people know that this is going on so we can share out the stream a little bit as we get rolling here. So today's topic, as you can see over the thing, is about hacks the web. This is related to our properties. Sort of. We're going to take something that exists elsewhere, and we are once again going to convert it. But I'm going to just send out that we're doing this live stream of making a web component. Make sure we got this sent out. All right, good enough for me. So I'm gonna be doing some of these live streams a little more frequently, try and do them like once a week or so. Try and live convert something each time. So if you're not familiar with Hacks the Web, you can check us out at hackstheweb.org. Basically, we make a lot of web components, like 200, 300, something like that. So what I'm going to be showing today is assuming that I've already got my WC Factory tooling set up. So WC Factory is short for Web Component Factory. So it is an abstraction on the way a team builds and manages a monorepo of web components. And if any of those words meant anything to you, congratulations. You're probably among the wealthiest 1% of knowledge production. Come on. I know we're all in this together. So why I say that is not everybody manages monorepo. Not everybody knows what web components are. Not everybody has this need for this tooling. But using this tooling, we were able to effectively produce this repository called LRN Web Components. So this is our entire portfolio of web components. So you can pick through there. You can search NPM. They're all published there. But if you want to see any of the other elements we've made before, there's a lot of them. So I'm going to show you how we go about taking a design asset and we get it into this setup, this monorepo of elements. So the thing we're going to take today, for no particular reason, there's no reason I would be doing this, is we're going to take just this banner. This alert message here. So this, if you're not familiar, I do work at Penn State. This is psu.edu, our top level primary property, if you will. And I mean, it's very well designed. They actually recently rolled out a new version of it. It's very clean. So I want to take some of these things and make them reusable design assets for other web properties. Now, why would I want to do that? Should be obvious, but because if let's say that we have this message, right? This important latest COVID-19, right? Get CDC recommendations. That is on the top level domain. Let's say, and I believe this was the case back in like last March, but let's say that like every property needed to have that exact banner, right? So that you knew exactly what that information was, either from a security standpoint or just public health, safety standpoint, whatever. Well, okay, so we have this banner here, and it's got CSS, and it's got HTML. It might even have some JavaScript, right? If I hit close and that goes away. And I need that to be applied everywhere. And I think there is a message like this normally, but I closed it, and I go to the library and see that they have a different COVID message. Right now, theirs is specific to the libraries, but let's say they wanted that design consistency, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to try and target. We're going to try and make this one new component. It's an alert that goes across the top. And we have our design comp in this case. We'll make some modifications to it, go through the ways at which we would manipulate this, and build it out. So here is the start of my monorepo. Now, I'm using WC Factory, which is the way we manage our monorepo. So I'm going to type WCF element because I already have those things installed. And it asks what monorepo I want to put this in. So I'm going to put it in LRN Web Components. Make the window a little bigger so that it doesn't scroll. There we go. And I'm going to make, I can either make a vanilla or a lit element based asset here. Now, this is an immediate inflection point. We build both. So if you're not familiar, a vanilla web component is just using the standard directly. It means you have no training wheels, you're doing it all yourself. Lit element, you have a dependency, it's very small, but it gives you a lot of conventions that make it easier to update templates, things like that. It's really good for maintaining state or state management as far as the data input to the element and then actually reflecting that visually and making changes. So immediately with an element such as this, I would look and say, okay, what data actually goes into it? So in the case of this alert, right, what are the parts of this? So you've got the CSS and styling that makes up the fact that this is at the top of the interface or whatever. But fundamentally, it's an alert. If I right click, I'm going to guess, and I haven't looked actually, I'm going to guess it has something that semantically makes it an alert. But let's see. So there's container. Okay. So there's the alerts wrap, header wrap. Okay. And then we have area labeled by. All right. Also says that this is non-emergency. I wonder if there is an emergency one. Let's just change the class and see. Well, there's some series of classes in here. Maybe we get rid of that entirely. Nope. All right, well, non-emergency it is at the moment. I'm not sure what the other one will be, but we can see it has a role dialog, so it has some accessibility things taken into account. All right, alert message for screen readers, cool. It's got a container area for the date, but it's not actually used, which tells me there's a variation of this alert, which is cool. Then we've got an SVG for the front. Screen reader doesn't care about that. Then we got the alert message, which also has an SVG, which is for the alert icon. Then we've got a paragraph. All right, so as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking through, am I making multiple elements? Am I making one? Am I making an element that has a slot to it? And then there's the minimize button over here, right, with close, and it's got before and after to do the little X. That's a creative way of doing that, actually. I did not anticipate that being the case, that they actually, they made the X just making a little line and then rotating it in either direction. That's kind of clever. Yeah, now it's a straight line. So that's very interesting. They made a straight line that's 15 pixels wide, and then they just rotate it. Interesting. Okay, so there's nothing about this that really says to me that I care about data reactivity. And the reason that I say that is there's not anything really going to go on the page that I then have to make sure is accurately reflected into this after the initial paint. So you're not going to the website, browsing, scrolling down, and then suddenly this thing says, hey, got to get your attention about something. It's just going to be there. It's like a static blob of HTML that's coming in from somewhere else. So I think we can go vanilla with this one pretty easily. If it had some data, reactive things, then I would say otherwise. But let's go vanilla. And then this icon, we have our own way of handling icons, and I might just lean on that so we have something else that we're using. So we're using a non-vanilla element in a vanilla element, which makes it not vanilla. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to do vanilla so we can have a conversation about this. Now, the hardest thing in all of programming is naming stuff. Obviously, we all know that. So I have no idea what to name this. Now, do I say that it's a top banner? Well, if it's top banner, it has to be the top and it has to be a banner. Is it an alert? It is an alert, but I can't just call it alert because it has to have a hyphen in the name of the tag. It could be like primary alert or site alert, top alert. I mean, that implies it's at the top of the page, but in this case, it is probably something that always would be because it's a critical alert warning message type of a thing that we need to inform the user. So I'm going to say it's top alert. All right, a full width alert that has an important message for the website viewer. Okay. I don't want to use Sass in this. Now what I'm going through right here is the tooling that we've laid out as part of WC Factory. This is basically just making an element and stubbing it out as far as its repository structure such that it's a lot easier for us to work with. So the reason that we added this abstraction, we had a team of like 4 people all making elements. You use a monorepo, so we're all working on them in one place. Well, we need to make sure that an element that Chuck makes or Nikki makes that I didn't make, I can still go to an interface with, and same in reverse, that they can go to mine and just interface with them directly. So I'm going to go into top alert. We'll see it's boilerplated some repository structure. Now I'm going to make a lib directory in case I have other elements to make. This is not required. It's just a convention that we like to use. I'm also going to go into the SRC directory. I'm going to blow this stuff away because I don't, this is when, for initial onboarding, we split these things out into separate files. Personally, I like having them in one file. So some of our very basic elements, we have as separate files. For the purposes of this video and to reduce the tooling strain involved, I'm going to get rid of these. And I'm going to copy my compiled top alert into here, which is a little weird, but trust me, it'll save us all a lot of headaches later. I'm going to do yarn install again, and yarn install is just going to make sure that all the different parts of our monorepo are aware of each other. If you're doing an install on a monorepo, I know it's actually going and it's getting all the package.json dependencies, resolving them, putting them in a folder. There's a lot more going on than what I just summed up in 1 second. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fire up something I don't know that I've shown on video before. So in WC Factory, our tooling, version 10 just came out, or 0.10, whatever you want to say, and it has a brand spanking new user interface, which means I can now type WCF space UI, and we get a visual way of going through all the web components we have in our monorepos and working on them. So I've got this list. These are the elements in LRN web components, our monorepo. So now I've got that new element that I just started working on, which is called the top alert, I believe. All right, so if I type the word top, there it is, top alert. And then this is just visualizing for me the commands you can run from package.json. So this is super useful if you're going to work on multiple elements at the same time, which might come up from this because I'm going to be doing something with icons. We'll see. But I'm going to hit start. It's going to open a little subtask window there just to show that. So it's now running a subtask, which I can kill off right through here visually, which is pretty cool. So what it spun up is just this very basic, like, this is our boilerplate. Hey, welcome to LRN Web Components. You're making a new element, and it does literally nothing. So now I work on my element, and this is our workflow. I work on my element, the code for it, and then as I hit save, this is live reloading, and it just goes, and it'll show you it. I'm pointing over there because the webcam is here, but my screen is there. So, all right, we're going to go with visual code here. I'm going to fire up VS Code, and I've got a bunch of elements I was doing stuff on. Don't save, close. It's important to take notes from a meeting, but then immediately close it when you do a live stream. So, all right, top alert. Search for that. Okay. So for top alert, and this is how we end up working on most of our elements, right? I've got the source, and this is what our boilerplate is stamped out because I'm working on a vanilla element. It just doesn't fully know how I want to make my element vanilla, so it just kind of stamps out general conventions we use, and then we end up, ripping out the parts we don't need. But so it says there's a demo. This is called top alert. It's got copyright info in there. All right, so my element is nothing, right? It's just style and then a slot. And that is why you see what the content is in a slot. Now, to prove that this does something, if I delete this and hit save, this is top alert went away because I've told my element shadow root there is no slot, so don't let anything come in from the light DOM above it. So I'm going to put that back in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at our design asset that we need to work off of. So again, it's this banner thing. So I want the slotted content to show, and I want the slotted content to be variable. Like, I don't know what you're going to put in here as the alert, so I can't have properties that indicate, oh, just write out this long text message and then the link is fill in the blank. So what we're going to do, other than pause that motion video background that people still use, okay, we are going to go to the highest level organizer for this item because it already exists. And then we're going to make sure that it's fully encompassed in what I'm selecting, right? This is for the menu, just to make sure. Okay, this is the header wrap. I'm going to right click and hit edit as HTML. And then we're going to select and just copy the whole stinking thing. So this is how I get started with any element, not just this one. I did a video last week showing this process involved with the with an element from another group. Now you can see this actually copied in the menu and navigation structure, so I goofed up in what I was supposed to copy there. So I think I actually, non-emergency hide alert, I think it's this one, right? So let's get rid of all of that stuff. Okay. All right, so there's the alert wrap, there's this container, alert message, alert wrap goes to there, which means, well, you know what? We're just going to get rid of these ones because you don't end up needing them when we make it a web component. But what I'm going to look at first is where should that slot be, right? So I can at least mock up my demo content to be right. So my slot should clearly be here, where there's this paragraph with the for the latest info about the virus. So I'm going to cut that, and we're going to put slot there. And so, again, if you're not familiar with Shadow DOM and web components, what this is doing is saying whatever you put inside the implementation of this tag, render it here. So now in my demo, right, we got top alert, and paste that in, and hit save, and what we should see, not on that, is, well, we've got quite the SVG that has not yet been sized. That is interesting. So we've got an absurd SVG, and we've got the slotted content, and then down here, right, we've got our close button. Neato. All right. So we're going to need to that's awesome looking. So, all right. So you can see what happens when we don't have CSS in there. So after I get the structure down that I'm looking for, right, then we start looking at anything that needs to be applied to this. Now, I can see that for non-emergency, right angle and left angle, we have a fill that's applied. We also have some media queries. Now, media queries, and this came up in a meeting I just had around a different site here at the university. Media queries get a little iffy, like, do I want to put this styling internal to the element? If you want it to work on that property, yeah. If you want it to be generic and work anywhere, no. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to put the media queries inside the element. I do not personally do this in mine. I make CSS variables and we connect to it. But I am just literally trying to replicate CSS that previously existed and apply it to what the new thing is. So there's another cheat I can do here. I can just go to demo/index.html instead of having the whole tooling represent that message every time. Okay, so now there's all this blank space because it's doing the fill correctly, right? So you can see the shadow scoping is nice because then, right, non-emergency left angle, still clean CSS works inside here, so that's awesome. So, all right, I am going to go, close those, I don't need them. So, all right, we'll go up, SVG, nothing special there, okay. We're going to go up to where the date, where it has support for the date, and we are going to add in these queries and things about it, and you can see there's the media query for left angle. Now, again, if you're just tuning in, you're wondering why am I duplicating things in this way. It's because the goal of how I'm doing these videos is taking something that already exists and making it a viable web component. It's not planning from scratch, which is what our team typically does, but we didn't at first when we got into this worldview. So I think it's important to show how we got down this way of thinking. So, all right, clean up some of this CSS here in our media query. In place. Okay, save. And then I'll just kind of iterate back and forth. Now, date is another good example where maybe there is something that should be a property, right? I don't necessarily need the date to be in the light DOM, so to speak. So I could actually start adding support for a property there, right, where it says date. I could also have a slot that's specific for date. And so let's do that. Let's do slot name. So that's a name slot. We're going to do date. And so I believe there was a .date class. Yes. Okay. So that's going to be flexbox, right? Okay. So if date is implemented, it would have something that would look like this. So there'd be might be like a time element, and the time element might say Tuesday, or it's Wednesday, January 27th. Right, so that's when this was added, and now to make it show up in that slot, I do slot date. And we go back here. And I don't see slot equals date here. Interesting. So I'm going to go look in the top alert. It has a name slot that is date. Yeah, save. Inspect. Search for time. That is interesting. There's right there. I wonder if it just didn't refresh. Oh, it didn't. Okay. Yeah, I just needed to refresh it. So I do get some weird local caching things on my personal computer sometimes. But all right, so there's the date. And it's capitalized it because that's what it claims it would do in the comp. And then we go back. We look at, not that SVG angle, we look at the container. And the container is going to have on 768. It's going to be real estate. It's going to have that. Put in place. Keep. Okay. Save. And getting there. This is at least starting to do something. Alert dot container is going to be relative positioned. Cool. Okay. Let's make sure we have alert. Yep. We have alert. And then we have container. Yep, I saw it in there. Okay. So, refresh. Okay, next item. From there, alert dialog description. And this one says, this dialog contains an alert message for the Penn State community. Now, this is saying this is screen reader only, which they're using this cool clip method and absolute position. So it's on the screen. You won't see it visually, but a screen reader will still pick it up and run with it. So this is a cool screen reader approach to hiding this in plain sight, if you will. So I'm going to copy these classes in. All right. So we've got our alert, the paragraph. We got our screen reader only on there. All right. Save. Then we move up a little bit more. Nothing special. Okay, on the alert, then we have alert position relative, and then we have that awesome transition animation from before. Awesome is relative use here. Save. Let's see what we got now. Oh, we're at least getting some of the colors in place. All right, let's see. So now we get into, okay, there's these additional wrappers in the original comp. I don't necessarily need those in my element that I'm making though. So let's see what's in them. So it says, okay, div display block. So it's the thing above, all of this. So what we should do is make sure that our host is display block. So we're imagining that our new tag at the top, this top alert, is going to take the place of that. Let's just check. Okay, header wrap has position fixed and all this good stuff that actually makes it show up in the right place. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to take this and we're going to copy it, but we're going to put it on here as maybe part of the default so they can be modified. So, wow, that is stretched out all over the place. Let's see if what is going on with the path there. I must have missed some media queries or something. Let's see, do I have left and right angle in there? I do have left and right angle in there. It's within this media query. Inline block, yep. Okay. Left angle and an alert. Do I have order 3? I do have order 3 on there. Maybe I don't have it on the right one. Let's see what the right one is. So I didn't check that. SVG, right angle. Okay, right angle is order 5. I guarantee I don't have that in there. Alright, and so we're going to put in right angle 5. Looking at the chat here, Tom asks, what is the advantage of doing this as a vanilla versus a lit versus Polymer versus stencil? So that's a good question. Right at the beginning, I did kind of go through my rationale as to why I was choosing to do this as vanilla. So the reason a lot of people use vanilla is they're purists. Was that a long enough pause? Okay, so the reason that they use vanilla is they don't want dependencies. Now, I think on an individual project basis, that is important. However, in deploying an application, in our case, that might have anywhere from 20 to 500 different web components, you're going to be doing a lot of duplication between those different projects. Now, this is where people get into a bit of an argument over whether or not you should be using a library, and why doesn't the platform, air quotes, of the web just do that, and then they go and use some virtual DOM-based, framework. That's not a wrong argument. It's just I don't care if I have like 3.6K of dependencies that makes development extremely lightweight and performant and free of any other platform consideration. So these components work in anything else. If I was doing this wired up to a backend data source, as far as this alert being, maybe this alert is drawn from hitting an endpoint, yeah, I could still do that in vanilla, but anytime I start working with data or presenting, doing any state management stuff, that for me personally is when I use lit. And then at that point, I'm just using lit element instead of lit HTML. I don't use Polymer. There's no reason to use Polymer ever again, other than for legacy purposes. Now, I personally use the Polymer tooling. It's confusing in their namespace. They have Polymer on the command line, and they have Polymer, like Polymer element, which is a base class. I wouldn't use Polymer element as a base class. Stencil is going to probably be kind of your best of both here. You have a nicer developer experience via TypeScript and just the tooling being built out for you. And then it compiles it into a format that is vanilla. So that would be kind of my inflection points. Usually when I'm working with data, I'm immediately going lit element. Honestly, I just do vanilla in videos so that someone says, why didn't you do it in vanilla? So I use lit element for everything. It's incredibly small. It's so easy to use. Just use lit element. But so, all right. I'm starting to get that CSS worked in there to fix my hellish looking container that's all over the place right now. So this is also why it's better to have the raw source than try and reverse engineer it from something else. There's alert message. Okay, so I don't have any of this in here. All right, let's make sure we have alert message in. There's non-emergency alert message. Make sure we have non-emergency alert message. No. Okay. So I must have missed those ones in the middle somehow. So there's alert message, and then let's get just alert message here. Okay, save. Let's see how we're coming along here. Still absurd. Now, this is stuck to the top of the window, which is cool. That's kind of what the alert is supposed to do. And, okay, SVG, container, alert, container. Maybe I'm missing this alert container as well. Container, dot container. Yeah, missing this one's too, okay. So it would help if I had the actual comp instead of, reverse engineering, but this is still quite unofficial. There we go. Another step in the road. Okay. So we've got our container, max width associated with it. Yay. There's got to be a height somewhere here, you'd think, right? Computed height. So height is relative to, let's see, this SVG has a line height. All right. Whoops, that's terrible looking. There we go. All right, so there's a line height of 1.15 on this. That's very much in the weeds there, but will influence it. All right. So we wanted that to be on the SVG. So the SVG tag that's in here. Okay, we're not going to put that in any of those. SVG. Okay, line height. All right, getting a little bit closer. We can see we're starting to emerge, right? That aspect right there. We need these to be in line, and they're not currently. Now I'm guessing this has something to do with CSS applied to the thing in the slot. So there's the paragraph, right? And now this is certainly, and this is not something lit element will solve for you. If I want this to be generic and a person to be able to type whatever they want and put it in a tag, I've got to do some interesting CSS potentially to be able to target that, because it's not actually there, which is weird to say, but it's in a slot. So because it's coming in from a slotted area, it's not, it's being presented here, but it's out of the scope of top alert. It's weird. So let's look at how they're applying CSS to this alert message. Okay, that's fine. And we've got our SVG for emergency alert icon. So let's put that in, so we at least have the alert icon in place. All right, down to our media query area, put this in. All right, and then I can take alert icon because that's in the media query for some reason. I guess they remove the alert icon if it's too small a screen. I guess that makes sense. All right, and then, so now we've got our, hopefully our alert icon. Hey, there it is, little tiny alert icon, cool. All right, so now we want to be able to make sure we target that styling on the P tag here. So this is all relative to the paragraph tag, but I'm styling scoped internal to the element. However, the paragraph is actually coming from outside of me. So you can either use the slotted tag, which I guess I will in this case. That's easy enough to target. Yeah, I guess that's the only way to do that really, is via slotted. So I need to go, we need a selector. So we need, you can't just use slotted by itself. It has to be in something. So slot is here, it's in alert message. So I will do dot alert message slotted, and I'm going to say it could be anything. Slotted only targets one level depth. So if you have like an ordered list of stuff, you can't actually style the LI in it. And the reason they did that is a huge gaping hole in taking into account how people would use slotted. It's hard. There's no feedback. So when you do that with the dramatic pause, there's no like, you got it, you nailed it. Okay, so what we're going to do is pull up this CSS. So I've got my starting point for this. All right, and now I'm going to reverse engineer this, if you will. I've got my color. Okay. These are just applied to things that are slotted, which will happen to be the paragraph tag. That as well. Okay. Oh, these are just on the breakpoint. This is some weird CSS. I didn't write this. Don't blame me. Okay. All right. There, that's in there. Alert P, that's in there as well. And then just for consistency, because it's in the other part of the comp. And now we can clean that out. We can get rid of these. All right. And this alert message slotted part is there. That's there. This goes up here. There's too many angled open and closed media query things here. Yep. All right. Now I think we got this down. So let's see if that helps. Hey, all right. It's looking more like our comp, right? So this is what we're going off of. Now I can even get into the links here. And we can see there's a non-emergency A tag. And I can't style that. I can't, because of what I was just riffing about before. I can't actually target a link at that point, which is certainly bizarre. Now that's because of the way that I've constructed this. So, I would have to, in the implementation side, right now is where I would say, okay, let's add a hypothetical style sheet to how you would use this. And you would say top alert A, and that is where I would apply this text. And so now it's the right color based on the comp involved. If it has a hover state or whatever, that's different. For state hover, there we go. You can see we're not underlining, and it is doing a opacity change. Interesting way of handling that. Alert, hover. We'll say focus as well, because that's how it should also do it. I like those to be aligned completely. All right, text decoration, we move that up there. The color is identical to what it was, so we don't have to worry about that. Get rid of those, save. Okay, go back to here. And now as I tab through, we get the same experience as tabbing as we do hovering. Now it's a little weird. It's text decoration. Is that underlined in the original? Oh, it is. Okay. My bad. I guess I should just, you don't even need to define that, but whatever. Okay, so our icons are starting to be closer in shape. Let's actually take this now. We'll move it over here. Ooh, now it's all goofed up. All right, let's take that and collapse. Right, so we've got it at the top of the interface. Clearly these side bumpers need fixed. Also the close button. Right, so we've got our close button, which is on a different media query. A little weird. Okay. Copy it all, and then I'll rewrite it in post. So then we're going to go over to our elements, and now we're just working on that button. Now, if I was doing this elsewhere, in a lot more time, I would take the button and probably make it its own thing. But for the purposes of right now, I am not going to. All right, we can apply that there. We can apply that, and we can do that, and then these will just override themselves as they need to. It's not a big deal. Okay. Then we're going to open and close that in the media query. Or actually, we'll get rid of it. because we already have the media query up above that we can tap into. Okay, ugly CSS all over the place. We haven't had a 1080 breakpoint yet, so that's interesting. So, all right, we'll take that one. We'll leave it in there. Okay, minimize alert button. Let's see, are we getting closer? Oh, I moved it to a turn tab because I'm dumb. Okay. So there's a close, and now it does that as we go to click on it. So we're getting closer. And now I know we have that span ahead of it that they did that interesting thing to make a X. It's not wrong. It's just I've not seen anyone do it that way. So it's new to me. Oh, I don't need that. We need this. Okay. Got our button. Put that in. Okay. Then we need to. It's got before and after, which is part of this super interesting approach that they took to this. Okay. And get rid of these style tag, go away, style tag. Paste, okay. So if you're tuning in, we are trying to replicate. Oh, it's like a chromosome X. It's like sideways. It's not like the comp, which means I'm missing something. oh, there's a different transform. I see. Different transform on the after part. That's weird. All right, so there's our other transform. Save. Yay! It's a happy X, I guess. All right, so now we can see even the little like dotted outline and the spacing is the same. Now it's obviously not in the right place. I know. Close this button right and the padding part right with the 1080p. Yep, minimize alert button. Alert button is float right. Ooh, dreaded float right. Well, there's that alert button and it's float right. All right, so we got the div that's wrapping that alert. Let's see if that's in here. Ordinal box group 6 is on the right angle. Again, very interesting. This is a very interesting way of achieving this. Okay. So what is that in? Oh, it's in minimize alert. Okay. Save. What do we got? Okay, it's moved over there at least. Let's wire up the close though. So this is a good example of scoping JavaScript via this, right? So in their example, and let me do an incognito window. I don't want to accidentally have like a cookie set that doesn't open the thing I'm trying to work on. So I click close. Oh, okay, and they collapse. Oh, that's interesting. All right. So I was not aware that they then collapse. So they kind of are toggling state between these things, which is then interesting that you can then close it, but now I can just click anywhere in this bar. So there's some JavaScript events that are clearly making that happen. So, all right, so now I know I can close that safely and open it. We can see that it has a state of hide alert and open. Of course, we would get some form of state management when I said that I wanted it to be in lit element up until that point. Darn it. So I guess we'll just have to shift it to lit element, which is not hard at all to do. So I've got my close button on it wired up. I was going to do JavaScript and just make this go away. Given that the comp we're working off of actually changes state fundamentally, this would be where I go and I just use lit element. I love lit element. And Fresca, apparently. So, all right, let's go and switch this over from vanilla to lit element. Super hard. So, didn't even get into what the structure is of what we were stamping out. So, we've got our HTML template, air quotes, properties. Well, we weren't even using those. So let's get rid of that. Our team likes to use a convention of having static get tag and then return the name of the tag. just easier to overwrite, something people can override later if they need to. Then we've got our constructor with our defaults. Let's get rid of that. That's way bloated. So it makes a template. Then it kind of adds that into itself. Then it attaches the shadow DOM, and then it does render. And so then in vanilla, you're observing attributes for state management purposes. You have an attribute change callback, so you can loop through and know what changed and react to it. This is stuff lit element and lit HTML do really well. So I don't like writing it by hand, especially because we use lit element in a lot of other places. So from a payload bundle phobia perspective, it's already going to be there. So this is vanilla. It's using the platform, air quotes. It's also accounting for shady CSS, which means a polyfilled shadow DOM, and making sure to polyfill it, apply the polyfill correctly if needed. So let's look at this in lit element then, all right? Because there wasn't a ton here. It's just like throw all the HTML in one area. So if I want this to be in lit element, and this does come up as we make something, it's to design specification and then go, oh crap, there's state management involved. We're switching over. So import, that's not, sorry, lit element.js. Now I always directly import what the thing is. You don't have to. You could just say from lit element. And what I'm going to import from lit element is HTML, or sorry, not HTML, lit element, CSS, and HTML. Weirdo. All right. Now, real hard, I'm going to change extends HTML element to a lit element. So now I'm extending from lit element as my base class. Where did I get lit element from? I already have this in our monorepo for other stuff. But if you're doing it from scratch, you'd go into package.json and you would add under dependencies lit element, and then you would pick a version. Again, they're on 2.4. I like to use pegged version for this, as opposed to like saying, just give me the latest. So we're on 2.4 for lit element. Okay, so we can assume this is here. Now they split out styling and rendering. You don't actually have to, but there's a large performance gain in doing so. So I will do a static get styles, return. And it came up in the last one. I like to return an array. You don't have to. It could just be the CSS, but you use the CSS function that they provide. And then, there we go. So the other nice thing is it's color-coded. Now, that's not something lit element is providing. That is something in my IDE. And so if you get under extensions, I believe it's lit HTML is going to do that syntax highlighting for you so that you can just look at it in a JavaScript file, yet it's color-coded like CSS, which is nice. HTML, it'll work too. So now I've got my styles migrated over. Now to render the template, it's render, and I'm going to return HTML. And then I'm going to take my HTML from before, and we'll just paste it into. Hey, it looks like HTML. All right, then I don't need to do this stuff anymore because lit element does it for me. I don't do that. I don't do this. I don't do this. So right now, and I don't have any properties yet, I should, when I hit refresh, get the same thing. And there we go. All right, so I have the exact same thing, but now this is delivered and being repainted and managed via a lit element base class. So let's wire that thing up, the close to change state. Let's see what they did for there. So when I hit the close button, something changes state so that we get the, so there's alerts wrap. So there's this min, as in this like minimized, and then when I click it, it says hide alert. So there's a hide alert class going on here that doesn't show those. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. All right. So I'm going to copy these. All right. And we'll put those in our CSS block of gobbledygook, because that's what it is right now with how quickly I'm trying to make this from derived CSS as opposed to having it already. Yep. Okay. That over. Okay. So now we've got the minimized alert CSS. Now let's get the CSS when it, okay, there's non-emergency. I think I have that already. Whoops. Yeah. And then I need alert.min, which I think I also have. Yeah, I do. Okay. So I have alert.min. Then I need to also have this state, which I think I have those. Yep. And then I need non-emergency, whoops, that I have already. Yep. And then I already have alert with overflow hidden, all that good stuff. Then alerts wrapper does not get the minimized state. So we see we click, we get hide alert, right? And hide alert basically changes as to whether we're showing the full or a hidden version of the alert. So what I'm going to do for that is, so there's hide alert, right, that it's applying. So I'm going to look at hide alert, and instead what we're going to do, we're going to apply this on the parent. So the tag is going to be stateful. It's going to have some implication of state management with this attribute / property. We'll mirror them between. So I'm going to do :host and then hide alert, which means I am saying it's as if the tag has been placed in the page and it's used as top alert space hide -alert is the attribute being set. So I'm going to say that or this other one. Okay. All right. Full min version. Whichever gets hidden is the thing that gets hidden for that. Or actually, this is, well, we'll see. We'll have to mess with that a little bit, I think. But so now we're going to have, to get this attribute to be, usable, right? We're going to get out of our crazy CSS here. When someone clicks on the button, I could do an @click here. Now, this is very lit element specific to be able to do this, to apply an event handler. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make a button that just says btn, and then we are going to use first updated, which is a life cycle in this is a life cycle in lit element. However, if I needed to move this back to vanilla, I could just use connected. So connected callback, that is. So and I always just do this in case someone else leverages our element. Super.first updated. Okay. And in case it shows up in inheritance and other things. So now, what first updated allows you to do in lit element is, one of the performance gains of lit element is it asynchronously renders its shadow root. So the tag is attaching, sets a promise, and says, hey, render this when you're ready. Oh, we're here. That could happen at a different time from the connected callback lifecycle. Could happen before, could happen after. So the safest way to access the shadow root, right, which is this whole HTML structure here, is in first updated. That is the first time you're allowed to safely do that. So I can do this dot shadow root, because that is there's a shadow root attached to me, right? This is the class instance of it. Dot add event listener. Well, actually, sorry, I don't want to add event listener to this. Dot query selector. And what I'm query selecting is btn, so the ID equals button in the shadow root. Dot add event listener, click, and when we click on this, I'm going to call this dot toggle open. Okay, now I'm going to make a function called toggle open. Oops. And what was the name of that attribute? It was hide alert. Okay. So maybe we'll make this alert toggle because it's going to open or close the alert. And now we're going to say, well, the default is this dot hide alert equals false. In toggle alert, we're going to do this dot hide alert equals not this dot hide alert. And this is just a shorthand so that every time someone clicks, it's going to basically flip between on and off, true and false. Now, I don't have properties defined. So what I need to do is I do static get properties return. And this is specific to lit element, but it's basically just wiring up some things in vanilla on your behalf. So now I say hide alert. And I do type, so it makes you type it, give it a data type. And I'm going to do reflect equals true, and I'm going to do attribute, and I'll explain what these do. Alert, okay. So what this does is lit element is being informed anytime this attribute value of hide hyphen alert is changed, update this property internal to the element, which is a Boolean, and change it when it, make sure those are kept in sync. So a property is the full data type. It's that this is a Boolean. An attribute in HTML is just the value. Like there is something called hide hyphen alert. The HTML doesn't know that that's a Boolean value necessarily. It just knows there's a thing called hide hyphen alert. This is a full data type. It's a subtle difference, but so it means that we can then use it like consistent data, right? This will be true and then false and then false and then true, because whenever someone sets hide alert, it will be true. Well, then if you toggle it to be false, right, we can toggle between those. So what reflect does is reflect says keep this values attribute in sync, and it make the thing that we get with it is it's exposed to our CSS. So now, because we have this on here, as it changes state, this CSS selector will become valid, is what happens. So now I should be able to pop this open, right? And let's see, I'm sure it's not going to look correct, but let's just make, because it still doesn't, but let's just see if it toggles state accurately. So we've got top alert. Let's close the shadow root. Let's just click this. All right, it's not letting me click it. So now let's go to our click handler, btn, console.log, make sure that we're actually running that. Okay, so we are. This is called hide alert. All right. So let's console.log hide alert, because it should at least be reflected into the thing. Right, so it switches between true and false. Nice. All right, top alert. It's supposed to have hide alert up there as a Boolean attribute. I can spell, right? This is where we get into that. I can spell things correctly. Correct. Hide alert is on there. Hide alert is false. It's supposed to just apply my CSS. I think I need to do this. Oh, apparently I did. Okay, so now it's working, but the CSS is wrong. So if I hit close, it's toggling state, and you see it says hide alert. Now if I take hide alert away, it shows the thing. All right, so I can toggle that CSS, which is tripping the value internally, the property that is. And what I changed is different there is I set up a click handler on this button, and I specifically said when alert toggle runs, make sure you bind the current element's context. I'm not really sure why I had to do that. I don't recall having that issue previously, but I write that all the time anyway. Maybe I just forgot. That's why I write it. So alert toggle runs, but it's saying that this is the current thing called this. It's confusing looking. So all right, let's take off toggle alert, and now we're going to need to update hide alert CSS, because the full one, so in this original comp we're going off of, when you clicked it, JavaScript ran and it switched the class, it toggled it on two separate elements. Now we're toggling it above it. So what I think we need to do is hide alert should hide the full one, and not hide alert should hide the min one. Yeah, so it's confusing. So when we have hide alert on for min, this is display block, and when we have just alert min by itself, it's display none. Let's see if that is enough to toggle it correctly. I might not have also ported over that other. No, I didn't port over the other CSS. Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, it went away. Well, because there's no other container. So I need to close this. I need to look at what the container is, which is right there, right? And then I need to edit as HTML. We're going to copy this one. I didn't actually copy the container that I'm claiming needs to be there. Yeah, see, so this is the alert dialog, full emergency, and then this goes next to it, which is alert min for the minimized one, and then the container. And this also has our button on it for expanding and collapsing purposes. So I guess what we'll have to do is we'll do toggle event on that, and then we'll do another one on this, and do RD equals btn2. Doesn't matter that much for the purposes of this. Okay. All right, so now we get the toggle between those and that. You know, again, it's not perfect. I didn't say it was perfect there yet. So, all right, we've got our container on this one. Let's look at the original. Okay. Alert min, container. I'm sure there's some selectors associated with that. Being the min one, there it is. Okay, alert min container. Let's see if that helps. No, it's at least in the middle now, and it wasn't before, right? So it's supposed to be like that. Okay, and then the button has a ton of styles applied to it, because obviously. All right, take that one. Apply those. Hey, we're getting a little closer. Okay, it's looking a little bit more like the comp. All right, button. There's an SVG in there. Alert icon. Put your mins in there. Okay. Min. Paste. All right, that looks more like it is, like it should be in the end. Cool. All right, what else we got here? We got that SVG. Just scrolled ahead. Icon angle down. Okay, so I don't know why that's a bizarre way of. There's a couple mixed approaches here. I don't really know why, but we'll go with it. We'll go with what's there. I did not write it, obviously. Close. All right, button, SVG. This angle down thing is not applying before correctly. Why would that be? It looks valid. Let's see if there's something else on angle down that we haven't copied yet. Nope, just I is italic. Oh, this expand alert. The whole thing is in. Oh, it is all in there. Okay. And I font style. Oh, No, that's going to be native. I don't know why I would even bother with that. Okay, so they clearly have a font or something that is making that show up that way. And I don't do that. So how do I want to handle that? Oh, they have a font named Fontello. Well, that would be the thing. So they have an icon font just for this one thing. Now let's see if that helped. I don't think it will. No. So they have an icon font for this one thing. And they have SVGs literally everywhere else. So, all right, let's deal with that. So we've got that. I am going to pull in another library, a helper library that we wrote just for icons. It's called Simple Icons. So I'm going to do import LRN web components / simple icon / I believe it's lib / simple icons. And what this is it's a way of presenting icons. Now I can go to what icons are available. If you type in simple icon, if I typed correctly. There we go, simple icon. Okay, let's see what simple icons got going on. There we go. So all simple icon does, renders an icon. Woo! Has a light variant, and the light variant is much more performant than the normal one. The normal one can be colorized, as you can see here, right? There's like shades of color and contrast, whereas light is just, it's here, it picks up the fill of what the color is. Reading back through the comments here. Lit would be better because connecting to a database makes things like global brand icons easier to update. Not necessarily. It's the state management of a property being set. So when I say state management in our example we're working with, I mean some like state of that thing, right? So this design comp is in a state of closed or in a state of opened. You can do that stuff with vanilla. You just start writing a lot of code that I'm really lazy and don't want to write. And we use lit element everywhere anyway, and it's very small. So make your life easier and just use lit element, please. I also don't use lit HTML because, I mean, we've written some things that use just vanilla plus lit HTML and always go, why didn't we just use lit element? It's very small. It's not a big deal. Now, as far as the icons and them being associated to a brand icon and like we have a batch of icons that are our icons, I would totally recommend doing that. These icons that are in use in this comp are just from like Font Awesome and stuff, you can tell. I mean, and that X is super creative the way they made that, but it was more so ranting on this X being made a different way than this SVG, and then the font-based little angle down when you could have easily done the font-faced angle down as an SVG at that point. But neither here nor there. So I'm going to switch it to an icon. We're going to use Simple Icon Light, which I said is very fast. To use Simple Icon Light, it looks like this. So Simple Icon Light pulls in the definition, which is a superclass. You can actually just use the icon behavior to make something like an icon, you know, like an icon. But it's a glorified SVG renderer. It's a fork of some practices that some developers from Red Hat we noticed were using in some of their front-end assets. So Simple Icons discovers icon libraries in kind of this like lazy loading way, so that we can point to an SVG and it will render the SVG there based on it living in a folder tree. So like there's all these different SVGs as individual icons that we can pull from. So since we have access to those, right, there's the icon set demo that Nikki made, which is awesome. And then we can have, what is it, down? It's probably the arrow. Yeah, hardware keyboard arrow down. That looks like, or maybe it's an expand. There we go, expand more. So if I just write expand more, we've got our simple icon light, and we go to where the icon was supposed to be. Right, so there's this button, there's an SVG for the alert icon. It's all the way out here somewhere. There it is, this little angle down, because logic. So coronavirus update, we're going to put our angle down here, and instead it's going to be simple icon light, icon equals expand more. And now, with that tag in place, we've got our little expand more collapsey thing. Yay! So this is correct-ish from the comp, right? Now we're missing that, which at this point, I'm loading SVGs, and again, that's where I start to say, like, should I not just use a different icon? Is there one for alert? Battery alert, add alert. There's the alert bell. There's an exclamation point, there's error. Ooh, there's outline error. Outline error looks a lot like that. So instead of those SVGs for alert icon, I could, right? And let's keep the class so that we get some of the same things applied to it. But I could do simple icon light, icon equals error outline, and then we're going to take class icon, put that on there, and then we're going to go and get rid of all this SVG gobbledygook because we've already got it somewhere. And then we're going to look for that other SVG now, now that we're in this neighborhood of getting rid of this alert message SVG, which is what I think this is, yeah. And let's see if we can't fix it that way. Oh, it's alert icon. Oh, good, it has alert icon. Let's just see what that looks like immediately using our icon instead of theirs. Oh, it still has the, all right. So, you know, it's using an SVG that's the exact same one. It's a different size. It's because they put a height and width manually of 82 on it. So let's go and let's just target that then via the dot alert icon. There we go, dot alert icon. The minimum dot alert icon has a height and width. Oh, that's interesting. It has a height and width on it. But they're relative pixel. Oh, wow. They're relative pixels on it. Let's find the dot alert icon class, and on here we're going to do style equals height. Let me see, it was like 87 pixels, width 87 pixels. Let's see if that even influences it. Didn't seem to. All right, whatever. At the moment, we're going for good enough. So, all right, we got our icon in place. We still got to fix this craziness. Let's fix the state. So right now, the state is that we do not have that message on here, right? So then we need to hide this. So this, the alert.min container needs to go away. Right, so alert min needs to not display if this, right? But we've got not as an available selector, so I can say if it's not got that, then alert min display none, which should be a higher. Yep, it's a higher selection priority. And so now we've got our toggle of state going on. So I can open and close that little coronavirus update thing. It's at the top of the page. Let me add a whole bunch of paragraphs just to just to make the page move down. We're also going to I'm going to take this out of this little snippets thing because it's potentially interfering with what we're trying to do. So I'm going to put that up there, and then I'm just going to put like 1,000,000 of these because we're trying to match the comp exactly, or as exact as we can, right? Yeah, so it's overflowing the thing. I can hit close, and it's still there. And if I look at the original, yeah, it's always on screen. It's saying, hey, you gotta interface with this. It's super important. So the top alert cannot be sent away, but we can toggle the state of it. Now, let's see what in the heck is going on here with our alert being out of order like it is. So we got the dialog. That's just for screen readers. We've got our text. It's up there. Container. I think it has to do with these things not flexing. Alert message, display flex, order 3, flex direction row, let's display flex. It's not a max width issue, doesn't appear to be at least. That is very weird. Completely unusable. Yeah, you're right, Tom. It was 82 pixels and not 87. I know. They won't even use it, but this is to start a conversation anyway. So, all right, let's try and figure out what's going on with that. Path, SVG, left and right angle, display inline block, alert container, overflow hidden. Maybe weird to apply to just the path, but alert message. Alert message has an SVG in it, and this has a paragraph in it. And the width of this paragraph is 76, but I think I have that taken into account. Ooh, maybe I don't. Ooh, maybe I don't. Let's see. No, I have width 76. Let's make it specifically targeting paragraphs instead of anything. Yeah, so there's our slotted P that is now selecting, although it says that the everything selector was working in this case, but let's just switch it to P, that you would have to use a paragraph in here, right, for standard's sake. Paragraph, SVG. SVG is staying to the side of that. So black and light. Alert icons. Alert icon. Got padding. Padding matches, but for some reason the height and width is more specific on this other one, which is weird. Oh, this 3. Oh, I see. This 3 rem thing is not within a breakpoint. That's supposed to be outside of a breakpoint. All right, and this is then supposed to be in a breakpoint. It's minor, won't dramatically influence it. But we are going for total to be safe. Okay. Alright, surround that tag, alert message. I don't think that's what the issue is, but no. Bizarre. That is very bizarre. And still, the Evil at the end of the day is always CSS. Container. Let's make sure our container is set up the way it's supposed to be, but paste, get rid of that, get rid of that. You can instantly see how this would be easier if I had access to the actual source instead of what I am going off of, but those are the same size too. It's, yeah. I have really no idea how they position these SVGs this way. This is very confusing. Even if I get rid of date, like it doesn't, I didn't copy over all the date class stuff, I don't think. So, very bizarre. I mean, they even slide the close button off to the side. And the close button does slide to the side. You can see it moves to the end there, the right breakpoint. Maybe it's the SVG on the end. Let's see. Now we're definitely in guessing territory here. Right angle, border 4. It is fun to struggle on CSS when the rest of it was so easy. Alright, I mean, I'm literally copying and pasting exactly what they have, which we would not use in this form. So, yeah, I got nothing on why that goes the direction it does. So, that's unfortunate, but considering there were 3 different implementations of SVG-based icon things, we'll go with this is a decent starting point. So, the CSS is scoped. It's allowing me to collapse this away. I would also add, have to abstract some things. So I'd say, okay, this is coronavirus updates. Corona, right? And I would probably then take this and say, okay, let's do this dot min label, which would imply the label while minimized. All right, and we'll do min label type string. And then I will do, and you don't have to do it this way, but I like to map these semantic, or to have the camel case match the hyphenated case. So min hyphen label. Okay, and then we're going to set the default to this dot min label. So we just have a default, expand, right? So if you don't actually say anything, we'll just say expand, close. Okay, there we go. So it says expand. But now, in the way we implement it, we're going to take this and we're going to say min hyphen label equals that. There we go. So now we have that with the flexibility that we could use it for other purposes. You can do the same thing with icon as well, which would be a reason to use a standard icon versus, a standard icon library, I should say, versus something that you just added. Expand more, right? So that's icons, expand more. This one is error outline. It technically starts with icons. Error outline. So what I could do is we could take this and we could say this dot icon, right? And let's look for error outline because it shows up elsewhere. There it is. And we could do this dot icon. All right, and then we go in here. We say icon type string, and then under constructor we do this dot icon equals that. So we have that as the default, but you could always go in and say icon equals save, and instead you get the save disk. Hey, remember to save, right? So this is the process, kind of full end-to-end, obviously with that comp not looking that way. I'm not sure what's going on with those SVGs. We're just going to display non-important. Let's see if it looks, there at least we're sort of on brand with what the design comp was. This is how I go through and I kind of, expand the flexibility of whatever it is, right? You could change the close button or not, have a close button or what have you, change the icon of it, things like that. So with that, I am going to push this code up to our repo. It's not done, but it's in enough of a state that I can show someone, which is kind of the point for today. So if you want to learn more about our projects, get the code that I'm going to push up here momentarily. You can go to hackstheweb.org and learn more about our projects, or it's ElmsLN on GitHub. Got many repos, but I tried to pin the most relevant ones. So we have a unified issue queue. And if you're interested in our CMS or our tooling or our learning management stuff, or you like 11D and you want to see another take on it, it's a wrapper. But for all the elements, it's in our LRN Web Components mono repo. So this will be pushed up shortly. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to be trying to do at least one of these every week. So if you have anything you'd like to see as far as porting an element, how would you solve a problem using web components? You could drop by our channel. It's our Slack channel. It's bit.ly/hacksslack, or hit me up on BTO Pro on the Twitter webs. So catch you all next week.